Let me start off by saying the Toronto Raptors are the NBA champions. That is something that has never been said on this show before, and it's being said right now. Here are a few more things that have never been said on this show. Much maligned, Kyle Lowry is an NBA champion. Marc Gasol is an NBA champion. Fred bleeping Van Vliet is an NBA champion. And of course, Kawhi is an NBA champion. But he already was an NBA champion. And he had a finals MVP to his credit, and now he's got two. And he sure as hell earned that second one. Man, there was so much that went down last night. I don't even have time to get to all of it in one take. I'm not even sure I can cover that first quarter in a single take. That first 12 minutes had pretty much everything, starting with Kyle Lowry, who was unconscious and gave them exactly the start that they needed in a barn that was peaking for the defending champs. Here are the first three baskets of the night. Lowry layup, Lowry three, Lowry three. This guy comes out on a personal 8-0 run. And even after Golden State scored, he had another three to make that score. Lowry 11, Golden State 2. So if you were wondering how the Raptors were going to show up after that painful ending to Game 5, Mr. Toronto Raptor had your answer. Kyle Lowry put that team on his back. That guy's taking an awful lot of heat in the postseason. And he's also right when he says he could have had 50. I thought he was going to get 50. And then Lowry was joined by Pascal Siakam, who was draining threes. But because it was Game 6, Klay Thompson came up huge. Game 6 Klay. That's not just a nickname. That is a lifestyle. It's a way of life. He was keeping Golden State in that game. And then they broke out a 2-3 zone to confuse the Raptors. And if that were not confusing enough, Jamal McGlure was going viral for that shot of him standing behind the Raptors bench using a paper cup as a megaphone. And all of that was still in the first quarter. Hell, I was gassed myself after the first 12 minutes, and I was sitting in my living room on my couch. And the second quarter was just as good. Two elite teams going at each other, showing a hell of a lot of pride and leaving it all out there. And it didn't slow down in the third quarter either. There was Klay hitting an absolutely ridiculous three to tie it at 76. And then shockingly, I guess at this point, and maybe it shouldn't be shocking, but at this point, the worst possible thing that could have happened did happen. Klay Thompson went down. Man, that was horrible. That was absolutely terrible. The overhead camera that had that shot showed his reaction as he lay on the floor. It was gut-wrenching. He's helped off the court. He's headed down the tunnel, and you know he's done. I mean, you saw his reaction. You saw how awkwardly he landed. There was no way he was not done for the night. Except the next thing you know, he's turning around, and he's back out there on the floor, and he's knocking down free throws. Shooting free throws and making free throws with what turned out to be a shredded ACL. What an absolute legend. I mean, I'll get to the heart and the toughness of this Warriors team in a minute because they deserve their own take for pure toughness alone. But that was massive. That was an amazing moment, an incredible moment. Not only did he make the two free throws, he was headed back down the court to play defense. I mean, are you kidding me about that? Like, no one does that. Like, Klay wanted to play Game 3 with that hamstring injury. And to be honest, I was watching him last night and I was thinking to myself, how in the world is this guy moving as well as he is with a hamstring injury? In fact, he looks better to me now than he did prior to that hamstring injury. And then he goes out there and he shreds his knee and he wants to stay out there. Like he went back up the court. He's out there with a ripped ACL, but didn't want to leave the game. He told Steve Kerr he only needed a couple of minutes of rest, and then he'd go back in. And yet moments later, you see him leaving the arena on crutches. I mean, what an absolute warrior in every single way possible. And this rap that the Warriors are a soft, finesse team is the biggest load of crap ever. More on that, though, a little bit later on. Meanwhile, Steve Kerr, he's got to figure out who the hell he has left. They were down KD. They were down Klay. Kerr starts the fourth quarter with Jonas Jerebko, Quinn Cook, Sean Livingston, DeMarcus Cousins, and Draymond Green. And there were jokes. Lots of jokes. The Toronto Raptors were taking on the Santa Cruz Warriors. Did the Warriors have any walk-ons that they could suit up? And yet they just kept fighting and battling and grinding. Problem is, so did Toronto. FVV was hitting one soul-crushing shot after another. You can't tell me that guy's not a legend. If there's not a street in Toronto named after him by the end of the weekend, someone's not doing their job. That dude was brass as hell. As Marc Gasol would later say, how can a guy like that even walk, given the size of his nads? Raptors took a 6-point lead with under 3 minutes to go. Stop me if you've heard this before. The Warriors would not go away. Not dead. Can't quit. Steph Curry was getting triple teamed. It was like he was back at Davidson, the way he was being defended. But Golden State still cut it to 1, and then Toronto had to inbound and spin clock. Are you serious about that? After losing Klay, after everything they had been through, and losing like half their roster, Golden State still actually had a chance to rip this. Incredible. Again, not dead. Can't quit. They actually had a chance to rip that thing. I mean, holy crap. That was a damn near perfect play. And it got Curry exactly the kind of look that he would have wanted. You could not ask for a better look for the guy that you wanted to shoot it. It just didn't go down. I mean, could you imagine if it had for the final shot ever in Oracle? That would have been the most Hollywood thing ever. Steph would have broke out the best shimmy ever. But it didn't go down. The ball was on the floor. The Warriors dove on it. They called timeout, a timeout that they did not have. And don't come in here with your oh-so-hilarious and not at all tired Chris Webber jokes. They had to do it. Lying on the ground at midcourt. The game was over if they don't call a timeout. Calling that timeout, getting that technical, actually gave them the slightest of chances of keeping that thing alive. It just didn't happen. The Raptors finished it off. Well, they finished it off after the refs put their stamp on the final few seconds with a series of reviews that really sucked all of the life out of that moment. But here's what you cannot suck the life out of. The Toronto Raptors are NBA champions. Kawhi Leonard is your finals MVP. I would say that this team buried the narrative about the Raptors, but the fact is that happened a couple of series back. This is not even the same Raptors team. It's a totally different group than the ones that came before it, than even the team they had last year. Different head coach, different starting lineup. Everything about them is different. And before I finish this, let me take a moment for Kawhi and for all you dopes who think it's really hilarious to crack on him because he's different, or because you thought that he wasn't tough after that injury in San Antonio, or that he faked the injury and he quit on the Spurs. If these finals have taught us anything at all, it should be never to question somebody else's toughness, ever. Like, I don't know who to blame, and I don't know what happened. I don't even know if there is any blame. And knowing how quiet both the Spurs are and how quiet Kawhi is, we're probably never going to know exactly what went down there. I don't know who got so twisted up and who owes whom an apology, but I do know this. Some of you owe that guy an apology. You all forgot how good he was. You all forgot that he was an elite player. You all forgot that he might be the best two-way player in the NBA. You only want to turn him into a bunch of jokes about his laugh and about his shoe contract. Yeah, because I'm sure that your laugh is awesome. I'm sure your kicks collection is amazing. Let me ask you this. How's that Crow Sando taste right about now? Yes, the guy is different. Different is good. It's not just good, it's awesome. I love the guy. I love his game. I love the fact that he's not like everybody else. Kawhi's different. He's unique. He's an NBA champion. He's a finals MVP. Only Kareem and LeBron have done what he just did. Win it with two different teams. So don't skip to where he's going to go in free agency or anything like that. Save it for next week or the week after. Appreciate what he and the Raptors just did because they are world champions. And yes, Golden State was banged up badly, but the Raptors have nothing to apologize for, and do not come running around here looking to drop an asterisk on them.